common argument for the defense of eating meat is that you have these teeth, your fangs, and they say, why would you have them if you weren't supposed to eat meat? And the best counter argument I've heard for that is because when you were your original hunter self, you wouldn't be able to get hold of plant food all year round because it grows seasonally, and so at some point in the year you would have to eat meat. But now that you can get hold of the plants all year round, that point is irrelevant. I always think that's a good little point on it.
Start, and we are recording.
I'm Josh, this is James, this is Sal, and I've done my hair in a man bun because today we're talking about veganism. My minute on veganism. I can see some people are the way I see it, some people are vegans because they care about the animals, other people do it for health reasons. I think they're both good points. I don't know, I know that's a bit brief, but that's all I want to say on it for now, because anything else I want to say will go in a minute. James, talk to me.
Yeah. So I've got a few thoughts on veganism. As you say, Dan, I think health benefits. Well, we can debate those. We can debate the studies on the physical benefits of eating less meat, or actually a vegan eats no meat. A vegan eats no animal products, so no egg, no cow's milk or any milk from any animal. There's also the how shall we say, the philosophical/political aspect of veganism, which maybe we'll go into a little bit more. It's tied into several world religions. A lot of people that I know have sort of Buddhist tendencies, are vegan because they have this care for the world in general, not just human animals but other animals too. And I think it's interesting. I've been experimenting a bit in the last sort of 8 months since I saw the Game Changers documentary, and maybe I'll share some more thoughts on that. But not right now, because that's the end of the minute, and I obey the rules.
Wow.
Boom.
Good man. Well, I admit it openly. I used to be a vegan.
I thought something more dramatic was coming, Sal.
I'm sorry.
These are self-confessions.
That's for a different episode. There's many reasons why one would go vegan. I mean, some are just to experiment, with your own body. Some are usually, I think at some point you also feel guilty about the meat industry, and that's how it started with me back then. It was classic. Somebody sent us some videos, we watched it, and they were disgusting and cruel. And so the first reaction was, okay, no more of that. So, I guess most of the time it comes from a good place doing that. As you said, there are ethical implications, health reasons, philosophical reasons. And there's so much to get into because as many movements, let's say, I call it a movement, there's a lot of splinter groups, and we can get into some of those. And I'm sure the more interesting ones will be those on the margin that are a bit more extreme.
Yeah, those vegan Antifa.
And health reasons. I think the problem is, if you want to find a problem in this, it's just that a lot of people go into that unprepared, and so they do more harm than they do good, because they just stop eating. Not only just stop eating meat. So being a vegetarian in itself, which is where you still keep eating animal derivatives like cheese or stuff like that, while that already can be unhealthy if you don't supplement properly or don't prepare your nutrition properly, going vegan is even more extreme. And so you have to be really prepared for what you're doing. And if you do, it's perfect. It's great.
Is the main health concern, Sal, the nutritional concern, the lack of protein?
I think most people who really have the health concerns go vegan or go with a plant-based diet. However, I think also a lot of vegans have both those concerns, but are also very concerned about, obviously, animals, animal rights, and they have a more kind of purist, let's say. By the way, my minute is already way overshot, but let's continue just this line of thought.
Yeah.
I think they are very concerned. They have this kind of Star Trek super pure vision of the world where we, and To be honest, if we had this kind of Star Trek technology where we could just have, I'm not sure if you ever watched Star Trek, but they have this kind of replicator where you just say, hey replicator, or make me a T-bone steak, and then the thing creates a T-bone steak for you out of thin air, and then you eat it, and no animals were hurt in the production of the Star Trek episode. So if we kind of had that technology, great. I would be completely up for that.
Yeah, do you know what, Sal? If my
yes.
aunt had a penis, she'd be my uncle.
Okay. You just threw me off with the penis analogy. I'm not sure what to reply to that. Sorry.
No, but let's talk a bit more about the health concerns, and then maybe about the ethical concerns after that.
That's not a 747 right over your head.
Thanks very much, guys. So I'm taking a time out. Crack on.
James is doing this podcast today from an airfield. Ciampino Airport.
Always a lot of people that say you should eat meat. A common argument for the defense of eating meat is that you have these teeth, your fangs, and they say, why would you have them if you weren't supposed to eat meat? And the best counter argument I've heard for that is because when you were your original hunter self, you wouldn't be able to get hold of plant food all year round because it grows seasonally. And so at some point in the year, you would have to eat meat. But now that you can get hold of the plants all year round, that point is irrelevant. I always think that's a good little point on it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a naturalistic argument in the sense that because it was more natural, that it was better. And it's the same argument as saying that raping people was more natural and therefore it's something that's good. We also don't do that because it's not good. It's a bad thing. So
Yeah. I don't like that whole. Oh, let's have a look at a human skull from 10,000 years ago. Look, they might have eaten more vegetables. Oh, well,
right.
Yeah, good. They probably didn't have central heating either. They probably didn't live in houses. They probably didn't have internet. Yeah. So
it's an interesting argument.
It's an interesting argument, but I think we've evolved, and so we can sort of.
Well, man, we make these points about running and things like that, and how it kind of gets in. When I think of why you like running, it feels something that like gets you in touch with your natural self, and why you enjoy nature. I mean, it's a relevant point in these sort of things. Yeah, go on, man. So the health benefits.
Well, a lot of people, the concerns that they have, number one, protein, and number two, vitamin B12. The Game Changers documentary, although many of the studies that he cited were cherry-picked and only partially quoted, he was quite intellectually dishonest in a lot of the points that he made. But he did show that you can get a variety of protein sources from especially beans, lentils, this kind of thing. And you can get B12 as well from other sources. A lot of the time, even people that eat meat have to take B12 supplements because it's not a very common mineral. So I think nutritionally, you can survive. Like you said at the beginning, Sal, you've got to plan ahead for it. It's not like, oh, I'm a vegan, I'm just going to have salad every day. It's like, you're not going to get any protein, are you? So you just have to be aware of your micronutrients. And it is possible. The question is, do you have to put yourself through that? Because I do like a steak every now and then.
Sal, can you remember any of the films which you did watch which influenced you to turn vegan?
It were not films. It were mostly like mini documentaries. Probably activists produced little YouTube clips. I can't remember now exactly. And
so were they like some science based, or were they like pigs screaming?
No, there was both. So there was first pigs screaming usually, and then there was also long monologues about how the meat industry has promoted. I mean, look, I'm sure there was a lot of truth in it. What it just fails to mention is then kind of a path forward, a healthy path forward. It didn't give you all the context, and it was then up to you to do the research, as usually in life. And not everybody is a nutritionist, and so there's a risk there. But it's also true that the older you grow and the more you are in groups, I suppose, that have been vegans for a longer time, you find out about these on forums. You learn more as you go along, also as often in life. And I'm sure that most vegans that have been vegans for life know exactly what they're doing. They have the right supplements. You see the exceptions, I guess, when you have then I mean, there used to be this joke being made about weak vegans. I guess that came from probably those specimens that did not read the label, that did not prepare properly.
Yeah.
So, but I guess by now most people are well informed. There's also, activist groups that I guess give you instructions of how you should eat. And then on the margins, you find activist groups that also tell you how you should live your life, which is a whole different topic.
Maybe should we
Do you like that segue?
But just what you were saying about the weak vegan, on the Rogan debates, the two guys on there that I've seen one with a vegan guy and a paleo guy, and out of the two of them, the vegan guy's a lot older, but he looks a lot healthier than the paleo guy. And I mean, I know these are just two people, but you must think the fact that they're on Rogan arguing their points means that they're kind of two good examples of each category, of each person.
Mm.
The vegan guy looks a lot healthier to me,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see his data, his physiological test. But you can be very healthy and be a vegan. You can be very strong and be a vegan. There are a lot of athletes that are vegan. Mike Tyson's a vegan now. But a lot of athletes that are actually training full on right now and competing at an elite level are vegan. So it is possible. You just have to have
vegan or vegetarian.
There are a lot of vegans.
Okay.
But you can get vegan protein as well. Look at this. So it's not like
vegan protein. Get a protein shake.
So you can get your nutrients, like you say. You just have to try a bit harder than you would anyway. But
in the Game Changers documentary, is that all about athletes, or is it
a lot? Yeah, it's sort of based around mostly athletes, isn't it? NFL players, football players.
Well, that's point proven, isn't it? The athletes.
Well, yeah.
No,
but I think one thing before we go to the margins, we didn't really go into why vegans are not just vegetarians. So they also refuse to drink cow milk or honey. So what's the source of that? Because honey, what's the ethical reasoning behind it? Is it like we're stealing from the animals? Is that the
I think
idea
that's
behind
it, isn't it? Because don't you smoke the beehive out to get the honey? Like you smoke it out so that the bees fly away, and then you steal their honey that they've made.
I'm not arguing against it. I'm just curious about
I think
the real reason is. Because if you make that, I talked to a beekeeper just a few weeks ago, and basically what they say though is, it is true we take their honey, but we provide them also with a home, which they wouldn't have otherwise.
You provide them with the home, and then you set fire to the home.
Paying rent,
Never like Winnie the Pooh either. I always thought he had a malicious side to him,
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, that he. But so
Sounded
yeah,
more romantic when he told me, but yeah.
But then we're sort of transitioning then into the ethical side of it, aren't we? Right. Because we're not saying you're not killing any bees, you're just stealing their honey. So you're actually treating the bee as if it were a person. So I wouldn't invite you into my home and then smoke the place out and then steal your bags when you've gone. So then there's a whole other side to veganism, which is the ethical side. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I understand it as a reaction to the perverted way in which we now process meat, for example, and the whole meat industry. I mean, I walked by a slaughterhouse where they killed pigs during my Camino de Santiago times. In the middle of nowhere, of course, just put it somewhere where nobody can hear it, and you hear screams loud. It's really not human, It's literally not human, but it's something unfathomable. It's really disgusting. And I wasn't at first. I thought it was like just high frequency machinery or something. These were pigs screaming their lungs out. And
I had that experience too. So I was on a work experience when I was 15, and I went to a farm, and they took me to an abattoir, a slaughterhouse.
Right.
And the smell. So like you said, the screams, but also the smell of fresh blood. Like it flowed like rivers. It was quite a gruesome sight. So,
And that's
not
brutal
everybody
and
wants
disgusting.
to see how the sausage is made, do they? But that's how the meat is produced.
And so that's something that should not exist. There should be a better way. There should be. I mean, there are ways to get high quality meat without all the suffering on the animal's parts, but you cannot scale it to the entire world. That's the problem we have at the moment. But I can see that. So strong. If you look at footage like that, it will create a strong reaction, and so I completely understand that. But then the next step is then also to refuse other animal products. So I can be vegan, be against all this industry, but I can still enjoy some cheese, for example. But according to vegan policies, that's not possible anymore.
Fondue.
And so I think there it becomes then something more almost religious or spiritual, where you're trying to be completely in balance with nature, not trying to create any master slavery kind of dynamics between us and the animals. And I think that's what this is about. No, we are all equals. I guess. I'm not sure. I'm asking you. What's your take on
I
it?
asked you. That's not fair.
The tone of it.
I'm just rambling along. Please stop me.
What do you think, Dan?
What do I think about them? Yeah, I think when the more people campaign, and I mean, look, if anything, I'm more carnivore than I am vegan. But literally, because I feel better when I eat more meat and less carbohydrates, and all I really need to do is concentrate on making some dishes that involve less pasta and more vegetables. And do you see what I mean? It's just a little bit of a habit thing. It's just easier for me to eat meat because I haven't concentrated on making vegan or vegetarian meals that make me feel the same way, high protein, low carb thing. So I agree with the movement. I definitely don't all the logical points that I see made about veganism I agree with, and I'm happy it's headed in that direction. I know it's easy for me to say that and not live it, but I mean, when these things do get more popular, it does become easier to do it. When you're out at a restaurant, you've got more options on the menu where you could satisfy your kind of dietary requirements and keep it vegan. So, I mean, it sounds a bit like letting everybody else do the work, but I definitely wouldn't fight against people going in a vegan direction. I think it's a good thing overall, and even the meat. No, I'll leave it there, man. I'll leave it there. Go on, Jack.
Basically, critical mass. Because it's what you're talking about is critical mass, basically. Because critical mass in every field, once you reach critical mass, then you get all the benefits automatically from it. So I think that's what you were talking about a bit. Huh?
I never heard of that.
Yeah, like if enough people.
Tipping point.
Yeah, if enough people support a cause, then it becomes accessible to more. But yeah, James, let's go to the. I tried to segue into the margins before. Let's go.
Okay, well, let's go to the margins then. So I think we all agree that ethically, it's very healthy. It's about. It comes from the intention to respect the earth and to respect the other beings that share the earth with us, and I completely agree with that. As with everything, though, there's a darker side to the edges, and I've seen a few posts recently from one of my favourite vegans, who it's basically been hijacked by the far left as like a battle cry, and the meme that he shared of something like, "You can't be vegan and racist." Stop. And then there's the whole explanation that, well, because with veganism you respect all living beings. With racism, if you're not racist, you also respect all living beings. So you can't actually be vegan and racist. But I'm pretty sure that you can be vegan and still be a prick. So it's not a get out of jail free card. It's what you eat at the end of the day. It can be influenced by a very healthy set of values, and for a lot of the vegans that I know, it is influenced in a very spiritually healthy manner. But it doesn't mean that you are some sort of holy being who floats above the rest of us. So the militant veganism side can go to hell.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's some unreachable purity standards that are just unattainable, and I understand where it comes from, but it's just not realistic. We are flawed beings. Now, you don't have to be a racist, obviously. That's very clear. We're against that. But creating like these moral high grounds, and if you are not living up to those expectations, then you automatically are this or that. I don't like that reasoning generally. I mean, it's something that I was used to as a kid, more from the religious side, this authoritative kind of guidelines spelled out by church, for example. No,
exactly.
That's one reason
why
a
religion.
One reason why I kind of moved away from that was I just didn't like this kind of judgment and making the rules, observing what you do, and then judging what you do. This is like the holy trinity of stuff that pisses me off, you know. So that's a whole different topic, though.
Yeah, I've got to go to work in a Zoom room, and my battery's about to die. So boom, boom, boom. Eat your vegetables.
All right, subscribe. Vegan or not.
See you guys.
Ciao.
Why are we making these podcasts? Because 3 heads are better than 1. We'll combine our experiences and research on engaging topics to learn a bit more each time, enjoy the chat, and improve our own communication skills in the process. Innovation comes from the ability to correlate information between different realms of knowledge, and we all have very different realms of knowledge between the 3 of us.
Why the Hydra, you ask? In archetypal mythology, dragons guard piles of gold. Overcoming fears can bring great rewards. What you most need is often where you least want to look, and we won't shy away from the fire to challenge each other and reach that goal.
What's in it for you, listener? Learn, laugh and love. Get involved and join us on this adventure.